Welcome, everyone. Today I have a really special guest with me, Steven Khanna. Steven, how are you?
Very good. Good to see you again. How are you?
I'm super happy. Having a podcast with you has always been a goal of mine, and here I am achieving it. And why is that? Because Steven is one of the most charming, fun, and kindest people in the SEO community. And we already had an episode at Estonia where I learned more about your background story and how I became essentially a Steven fan. Why? Because you're so resilient and ambitious. And today in this episode, we're going to talk about your ambition in terms of sales and how to drive a sales department, especially in B2B businesses, which is the sales cycle tend to be longer. The networking tend to be a lot different and the whole outreach process compared to B2C companies. So, Steven, would you like to quickly introduce yourself, give us a quick highlights of your life?
Sure. Yeah, people know me by Steven, but they also know me by many other names, probably not worthy of this podcast. So I'll leave it for a private conversation. But you can Google me and you'll find out maybe those secondary names might just pop up. But I'm not going to say anything here on the podcast. But yeah, been in sales for a while. I'm actually now an SEO. I've spent about 3.5 years in SEO link building, but as Annie knows, my background lies with restaurants, wines back in the UK. Just happened to be in Poland, stumbled across SEO, and here I am. Multiple podcasts, webinars, now chatting to Annie. Currently, I do my main job with Endorsely, which is an affiliate growth program SaaS tool along with the tracking software, but I also give out lots of trainings and setting up SOPs and systems specifically within the SEO space, because a lot of SEO agencies tend to struggle with sales.
Yes, correct. How did your experience in restaurants help you in sales, in B2B sales especially?
Yeah, in the restaurant space, if there was a definition of when you're talking B2C, right, and then you're talking B2B, we had both of those profiles coming into the restaurant, and very quickly we had to kind of pivot between, right, what's the boundary of humor with this client and what's the boundary of professionalism with this client, and similar philosophy has been applied in sales. The biggest things I have taken away from the restaurant world is you got to be yourself. You got to have a funny bone. You got to be able to match the expectations, set expectations quite quickly. Because end of the day, it might not be a perfect time to start doing business, but if you leave a lasting impression, and they do remember that, oh yeah, that person was actually, no, I like him. He's got a sense of humor, but he's also trustworthy and speaks a lot of sense. And normally, when they get that opportunity, they'll think of you first. And if you already have that relationship where you're kind of touching bases with them once every month, whatever, usually you're in the right place at the right time. And that is so important in sales. There's one liner which I remember so well, and I'm not sure who said it, but it sticks with me. The harder you work, the luckier you get. And it's so important in sales.
The harder you work, the luckier you get. I mean, luck also comes with rolling a lot of times, and you only get lucky if you bring enough shots.
Correct,
right. But a lot of people still struggle with sales, especially relationship building is one thing. However, making that first connection is even harder. Because now there is no report, there is no reason to. I'm speaking outside of conference settings. In conference settings, I found it very easy to get to the first hello. Why? Because everybody kind of already put a lot of capital getting into that place in the first place. However, out of this conversation, how to, to do outreach, how to do cold calling, I think that's also part of that's really big part of the job. How were you able to make that first hello outside of human connection, outside of the networking connection?
Yeah, a lot of patience, to be honest, to start with. A lot of salespeople jump too soon. Now that I've started doing some consultancies, I've been gobsmacked where I've asked the salesperson, all right, mate, explain me your outreach LinkedIn process. How are you doing it? And it's as bad as us getting bombarded every day with the Dear Sir emails where pitch is happening too soon. So they're sending a connection request and there's a message in it already pitching for your services, which is in this day and age where LinkedIn is, for example, is being spammed with a lot of people trying to sell. Nah, mate, you gotta wait for the right time. And I'll give you an example. The general philosophy with creative cold outreach on LinkedIn is you engage with the person, you like, you comment, blah, 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 and then send a connection request. What recently I started doing is I've been reposting certain people's posts with some of my comments on it, but they are a fine balance between professionalism and humor, and then they come and connect with me. And I'll give you a perfect example which happened last week. This is for your audience. For me, and I follow this guy a lot, his name is Giulio Segantini. His LinkedIn title says, the weirdest cold calling trainer. He's got videos of himself doing cold calls and playing Jenga at the same time. So imagine the amount of value this bloke. He's got tremendous amount of following. A lot of people must be bombarding him. And I've tried to connect him in the past. I was like, nah, this technique's not working. So all I did was a couple of times, I reposted his content, added my funny quotes to it. He reached out, he connected, and he texted me back. And it's been a while now. We text a lot. I'm trying to actually get him to an SEO conference as well. And then I started sharing. Listen, mate, I'm also all about cold outbound. I love your opener, and one of his openers is if he was cold calling you, Annie, he'll go, Annie, we don't know each other. Will you throw your phone out of the window if I say this is a cold call? These are kind of the openers he's got. And I was discussing with him on a voice note, what are my cold calling openers? And he loved it. I haven't pitched him anything yet. I know he could be, hopefully, a good partner with some of the agencies I'm training, or at least within Dorsley specifically. I haven't pitched him anything. I had a chat with him a week ago. I'm just waiting for that right opportunity, which would present itself either through a content or a post. He's going to put something up on LinkedIn which would have a commonality to it. Or if it gets too late, I don't want the lead to go cold as well. I'll, in a friendly way, then drop a voice note or a Loom video. Now, you or your audience might be thinking, isn't that too long? Yes, but for me, sometimes it's quality over quantity. Because really, those days are gone that you had to do 80 cold calls or 80 outreaches every day in order to convert. Because people are clever, there's so much AI in it, they're being bombarded with shit all along. So sometimes the age-old saying, less is more, is important. Because that one lead could be your six-figure client, or that one client, one lead, could refer you to someone or a collection of leads which could be 5 figures, 6 figures, little steps. So exactly. That's what I believe. Quality over quantity, less is more.
Okay, yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense because one of my biggest concerns with all these social media outreach and anything that happens outside of human connection is like I don't trust anything anymore because I can easily generate anything now, images, videos, text. So to make that lasting connection, we need to do something outside of the box. I noticed that in your answer, you spend a lot of time kind of warming up to the account to even like get to the first text message, which is like 100% opposite than what 99% of the people do. Even the companies I know of, they would just send cold emails and then make a connection, and then the first message is like, hi, I have this blah blah blah, been featured some big names, and now I want you to take action. And of course people they read and they don't really take action at all. And now like the first impression is gone, right? Like the first impression of of that, people like, oh, Annie already spammed me twice. So the third time I'm doing like a funny outreach, people might not even want to talk to me. Isn't
Correct.
so? My question is like, so you're doing this because the first impression first impression matters a lot, right?
First impressions is the last impression. Again, call me
Oh.
old, call me crawling out of a cave, but I've been brought up with certain values which still continue to give me success. Why? Because I think a really valuable salesperson is who, no matter which job they were doing 5-6 months ago, they've left that, yet that friendship, that relationship with suppliers, with clients is so strong that it transcends beyond the borders of just a business relationship. And I'm still talking to, whether it was my last job, whether it's my current job, whether it was my wine when I was selling wines and all of that. And it's let me try and explain it in a way. It's one of your, it's like having a network of best friends when you don't talk to each other quite often, but every time you connect again, it's with a lot of genuineness in it, where, let me know how I can help, mate. Or I'm saying, oh, you're going there. I think I know someone. Let me organize, I don't know, a taxi ride for you. Having said that, these genuine relationships, the thing I said, less is more, that's my way of doing it. I'm not saying my way is the only way of doing it. And I know some fantastic people out there currently crushing it with cold email marketing as well. And they've come up with ways of presenting a first email which is not more than 50 words. Amazing titles, share a pain point, you are the solution, and a soft CTA at the end. And I think I can take that person's name, Joel Kusumo. He runs a fantastic agency in Sweden, and he's recently been helping Audiwise with this as well. And it's great. It's great. It works. They get enough inquiries coming in week on week, and I've clearly picked up from that as well. I was like, I'm going to start using some of this because it makes more sense, you know. So a clever salesperson, apart from the relationship building, apart from the network, is constantly learning. Because sales job is like being a football manager. It's a great leveler. It'll slam you down to the ground so quickly. So you got to be resilient. As I said, have that networking. Yeah, thick skin really. You know, the ability to laugh on yourself when you screw up. And I screw up a lot. I'm like, oh fuck, I shouldn't have said that. Or I shouldn't have done it, but maybe a bit too soon. Because salespeople are also driven by numbers, you know. So when the month is approaching, the month end is approaching, the end of quarter is approaching, and the pressure of quota is there, you would end up making mistakes. But as long as you remember those mistakes, you fix them with the people you committed that grave crime or grave sin, and you've learned from it, then I think you're well on your way of being a salesperson people can depend, but also churn out results week on week, no matter what you're selling.
Yeah. I think these qualities makes a great leader as well as individual contributor, because all these skills you need to present in order to first drive more business, but also to kind of represent the company at the same time, because at the end of the day you are representing that company that you want to make a sale for. In terms of B2B though, I noticed that when we deal with businesses and brands, there's always a lot of decision making going on. As a salesperson, how do you manage or deal with that dwelling time?
Yeah. Because a lot of salespeople don't ask the most important questions in the first discovery or the second follow-up call. For me, it's important. You've done the icebreakers, but if I was still working, for example, at White Press, right, or at Endorsely now, when I'm going on discovery calls, I want to find out what's their belief system in an affiliate program growth. Is this part of their growth strategy in 2025, right? How soon can the budgets be available? And if the budget's there, and if you give a projection back in 10 days, how soon are you looking to make that decision? If you're not asking these questions, then that's what happens. The dwelling time scenario comes in because you have fucking no idea what's happening. And I think it's well within a salesperson's right to ask these questions, because then you know how hot, warm or cold that lead is. And if someone said, mate, everything's fine after you've given me your projections, it'll take me easily a month and a half to get these approvals. Okay? And I usually say, right, a week before month and a half, right, can I drop you an email on this day, or can we jump on a call for 10 minutes and I'll send you the calendar invite now, so that if something's changed, you could let me know. So you're taking it right down to the funnel as much as possible without obviously invading their privacy or coming across an absolute dick or pushy salesman. But if you're not asking these questions, then it's your fault, you're failing, because that's how the dwelling time comes in. Having said that, not everyone would still keep to their timelines. It would happen. What I'm saying probably works 6 out of 10. There'll be guys answering me the exact questions, the answers I want, and still ghosting me. But then that's part of the game. That's part of sales. So if someone's thinking sales is a journey where you do X, Y, and Z and you'll get 80, 90, 100% returns back, sorry mate, you're in the wrong trade. You should be ready to get slapped down more than the wins. That's how it is. That's the game. However, be ready to celebrate your little wins to keep you motivated all along. Hence the classic sales funnel. You need to marry your strategy, the vibe you're getting from the client, and your own instincts, and see, okay, how am I supposed to achieve X revenue target by end of that quarter. Hence, you look at your top of the funnel and you say, how heavy is my pipeline? How many response rates I'm getting? And if you're doing those calculations, that mathematics in a strategic manner, 9 out of 10 times you'll hit your quota.
Okay. That makes, I think that's very encouraging too, because not a lot of people are ready for getting slammed down. In a world of, you need to be perfect, you need to be this and need to be that. So most of our friends who are in sales, I always look up to them so much because I know how much resilience they have. And often salespeople are the most fun to be around with. I think it's just...
Yeah. It's like because the clients have treated us in such a rough manner. A lot of times we just have the ability to laugh on this. If this was not on a podcast, Annie, I would have made a statement, but I'll probably text you that statement because we had that in restaurants, but I can't say it on a podcast. I'll get a lot of hate for that. But I'll text you what that means. And that always keeps me charged up and motivated when I'm having a bad day at the office. Everyone has a bad day at the office. It is what it is. You roll with the punches. But I think some qualities in a salesperson would just come with time, with experience. A young person would always have these bright ideas, lots of energy and all of that, but not have a really wise mind to look at what's the long term. They look for quick wins, they look for short term gains, but they also get demotivated quite quickly, or they change their strategy a bit too often. Jack of all trades, master of none kind of thing. Nah, mate. You look at football. Every football team has a certain identity, how they play. And in my book, a salesperson should have exactly that. Giulio Segantini, he's a humorous cold calling trainer. Another guy, Benjamin Delaney, his LinkedIn title says the UK's most hated sales trainer. And they are known by that. He always wears a red cap which says, make cold calling great again. You look at Jason Barnard, the man in the red shirt. You look at Dooley, he's got an identity. That's exactly what salespeople should have. And that's why I keep telling all the salespeople I train, what are you doing for your personal brand? Are you just another sleazy salesperson, or are you a personality where people would be happy engaging, even though they know you will try to sell something to them at the end? But engaging with a brand then also becomes a bit of an ego boost for the person you're selling, because they clearly check you out on LinkedIn, Facebook, whatever. Use that. Okay.
What makes difference between asking the right question to a lead versus being a pushy salesman? What's the difference between those two?
The timing. If you're leading the conversation, and that's what a salesperson should be doing, you go in, not being an instructor, still being the person, kind of reverse engineering the mindset where you are controlling the call, you leading it. And if you're asking the right questions from the very beginning, which is again something I've learned from my restaurant days, is when I had to sell a tasting menu to a table of 10, knowing that'll hit my target for that evening, I never used to go and give out a la carte menus to everyone. I just used to identify who the host is. I used to go to that person and give my pitch in terms of, listen, you got a table of 10 and I see you celebrating. We've got this fantastic celebratory menu. Starters in the middle, you can all come in, share so you don't waste time ordering and then waiting. And main courses would be the chef special. And that pitch used to change every day or sometimes every table depending on who I'm talking to. And I used to hit my targets quite easily, quite quickly, where kitchen used to come out and say, can you stop fucking selling tasting menus because my kitchen's about to fall down, And the similar thing, you take control of that conversation very early on a discovery call. If some of my clients are listening to this, please don't listen, because then you won't believe me on my next discovery call. So if you're doing that and the the questions are a logical part of that conversation, right? Then it's very okay to ask. I'll give you an example. I was doing that training with another SEO agency the other day. They were doing everything right apart from not asking the commercially driven questions. Very important to ask. How long have you been doing link building? How long have you been selling SEO? How long have you been doing, content writing, right? Do you have an internal team? How many links do you build in a month? What's your budget in a way? And if you've been doing links, are you using another vendor? Is it an in-house team? Get to the bottom. So I know already, the salesperson knows already where to categorize that lead in your warm, hot, cold category. And then decide what's your next plan of action when you're sending follow-up emails. And on the back of it, there should be templates. Mm-hmm. This is a template for my hot lead. This is a template for my warm lead. This is a template which is cold. Looks like from an SQL, it'll become an MQL. So it needs a lot of educational email sequence going out, case studies, blah, blah, blah. So it is highly strategic. But if you're controlling the call and you're doing it in a timely manner, which comes unfortunately with experience. Hence, I would recommend a lot of early people who have just kick-started their sales careers. Reading books is okay, but try following personalities on YouTube and LinkedIn, and you will pick up certain things. And all you need is a couple of sentences sometimes in your repertoire to convert something, and you just keep building on it. Some of the things I say, some of the techniques I've used, some are my own, some I just have picked up. It was weird. I'm not sure if you've noticed. I'm sure you've heard of, Manik Ban from Search Intelligence. That's Ferry Kashoni's. He runs a massive agency in the US. Manik Ban put out a video. He's quite big in this space as well. Put out a video yesterday how someone booked a call with him, with his sales team, saying they are big enterprise client, blah, blah, blah. What it turned out, these fuckers were trying to sell them something. But it was pinpoint perfect. And I looked at it and I was like, fuck me, that was my first client in White Press. And I tagged Tom Johnsey from Nautilus Marketing saying exactly the same. I said, Tom, do you remember? I did exactly the same with you. I was just thinking out of the box. I was getting no luck with cold calling and I was like, at worst, what's going to happen? They're going to tell me, fuck off, don't come back again. I booked a call when I was at White Dress and I wrote a message there, content writing services. So Tom Johnsey is on a call trying to pitch his content services, and at the right opportune moment, I somehow connected his content writing to our link building platform at White Press, and he bit. He's like, yeah, he became a client. Now, obviously, he's a really good friend, but he remembers. He said, you dodgy bastard. I remember you booked a call thinking I'm going to pitch you services and you ended up doing it. So what does it go down to? Taking ownership, taking control of a situation without being overly aggressive at the same time.
Yeah. Okay, so I think to summarize between being a, negative kind of pushy salesman versus someone who is asking the right question comes with strategy and the right timing, because I also don't like the fact when, somebody is like, oh my God, this sleazy salesman just sold me a awful service, and now there's like a whole different view of the brand. And part of this podcast is to like help people distinguish between these massively different things. Yeah. And one thing I would like to ask is, in your stories, you have mentioned that you have a really creative and consistent way of reaching out to these people before you even reach out. So, the commenting, following people, actually putting thoughts into their content, which people love, right? Because we all do content at the end of the day. Is it your job or somebody else's job to find those accounts so that you interact with? Or is that, do you also do the research of like, okay, there are 1 million LinkedIn accounts, out of that 100,000 could be potential for us, and then you narrow it down to potential prospects, and then they become leads? Is that your job or somebody else's?
It depends where you're working. If you've got a brand which has got enough authority in the world, then you might be getting some inbound leads anyways. But coming up and curating leads list, again, call me old-fashioned, but if someone's doing that job when it comes to prospecting and preparing a list, that's, for me, is lazy salesmanship. I would like to go after that person and that list and prepare that list myself. I'm not saying if someone else is preparing that list for you, it's wrong. Not saying that. However, if you are responsible for your targets and your quota to bring in a client, why would you not go after the right person which makes sense to you? It's like, it's your birthday party, Annie, but you've given the invitation responsibility to someone else who clearly invites the wrong people. For me, it's as simple as that. I do want to know that. And it takes 2-3 minutes, to be honest, to scan, to see. Obviously, you got tools out there. You got Apollo, you got Hunter, plenty of automation, which I also use in order to very quickly add filters in there to shorten that list down. And sometimes just with the job title, it'll tell you it's a good fit or not, and you keep deleting it. But the ones which hit the base level, yes. So really the difference would be if I had to do the same training with someone else and they can follow and save me, 20 minutes of my time. Yeah, I'll take that. But I would feel something's missing. Like, I didn't bake that cake myself. Or as I said, someone else got invited to my birthday party when I wasn't. I was like, I don't want that person in my party, kind of thing.
Exactly. I always love when guests bring out like real life scenarios and as an example, so it's so much easier to visualize why certain things work or don't work. And this birthday party was perfect. Like, I would hate to have my frenemies. I don't even know if I have frenemies, but like, let's say like a really awkward person on my party that I wouldn't want to invite, and all of a sudden I gave it to someone else. 100% makes sense.
Yeah, because that's one of the biggest things where salespeople lose a lot of time, is going after the wrong ICP. Fucking barking down a tree, and it's like, why am I not getting success? Because you're fucking speaking to the wrong person and loads of wrong people. Defining your ICP is so important. That's the first biggest step of being in that race of converting a lead. So why would you not take that responsibility?
Exactly. All right, Steven, before I let you go, I'd like you to share with us about your new venture as sales trainer. Would you like to share with us that?
Yeah. I think it's a long time coming. A lot of people have said that. So my website's up, stevenkhanna.com. Quite simply, what I do is I try and help SEO agencies build SOPs, systems, but then if they've got a bit of that, I look at the existing process and upskill the salespeople or the client success team they've got by adding hooks, personalizations, structuring the system in a way that it's very data driven, but also it's all based on targets, because without a target, it's you're running around blind. So that's been launched. So if anyone's looking for help, anyone wants a a maverick, a sales maverick, to come in and rejig the system a little bit, yeah, please hook me up, stevenkhanna.com.
Amazing. I will link everything down in the description, everyone. And thank you, Steven, for joining us on the show.
Brilliant. Cheers, Annie. Thank you.
Cheers.
Thank you, guys.
Bye.